How big?
Yeah, like how much space is that? Because I mean, I'm assuming like for a month to use medicine, it probably isn't actually using that much medicine, so it's probably not like a huge amount. It's probably like what, like a backpack or something? Crate?
I mean, you're talking about 1 month's worth of medicine for 50, 48, 49, 51. So for 53 people for a month, we're talking about like not just medicine for cuts and scrapes and bruises, but tonics and elixirs and general stuff like that.
Okay.
There is like more severe things too. Like your big bandages and your braces and your more urgent medical supplies, but this covers the generic, the whole thing.
All right. Yeah, Carlos will ask that the if the supplies could be delivered to the docks.
Oh, they can deliver to the docks of Grey Point. However, you will need to charter a ship or get a rowboat, or get things onto the windward side of the island. So for reference, where's my tiny fortress?
So where are we right now? Grey Point?
Okay, so currently you're at Grey Point, on the inside of the lagoon, or on the coast of the lagoon. Oh, there we go. Ha-ha.
Oh, but our boat is like over here, right?
Yeah, the HMS Fortune is
the water's too shallow for it to enter into the atoll.
Exactly. So you guys were over here, and the gnome lagoon boats came in here to Grey Point.
These gnomes are not very forward-thinking, are they?
What do you mean?
Never mind.
Their boats are tiny.
Their boats are small and meant for the lagoon, and they have not much. It was sort of like not revealed, but it was touched on last session that they weren't really ardent explorers, and they were quite happy to stay and live on their island. However, other ships visit their atoll,
including a silver dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
And a new Ravnica ship.
Yes.
And a Port Horizon ship.
And now a Port Horizon ship.
Yeah, after the apothecary visit, Carlos will explore the rest of Grey Point for anything else that's of interest.
Where's Grey Point? Okay. So Grey Point is dominated by fishing docks, plantations, and steam plants. The platforms that are jutting out, so you got your little point there, the actual Grey Point, which is kind of covered by its namesake. There's a number of the gnomes call them steam retorts.
Steam retorts, okay.
Steam retorts, and they are what desalinate the water from the lagoon, the ocean water of the lagoon, and transport it to shore. So they're offshore. They're not very far offshore, but they're offshore enough that they're in the water where they're not worrying about sucking up like silt and residue and crap from the bottom of the lagoon and contaminating the water. There's small little wooden bridges that go out to them, so you can go and investigate a retort and stand on it and see how, well, not so much see how it works, but you can stand on it and say that you were there. And that's where every once in a while, if you were to do that, you would see the occasional gnome with a wheelbarrow or some sort of a pole cart bringing loads of sea salt that has been separated from the water. There's also piping that goes underneath the wooden bridge that leads to land, where there's reservoirs that keep the fresh water contained. Aside from that, Grey Point is mostly just fisheries, places for processing the fish, housing for the population. It does hold it's a population of 650 something gnomes, so it's not small. It's not big. It's not small for the world that you guys have found yourselves in. A town of 650 is a sizable town.
Mm-hmm.
You hear mutterings and rumorings around about there being a startling lack of metal, and it mostly comes from not the fisher gnomes, but some of the other ones that talk about how they just came from Canmore and trading seems a bit abysmal recently.
Lack of metal, huh?
That's what they're grumbling about.
Does it remind me? Port Horizon does have like iron mines, right?
There is an iron mine in the mountain of Port Horizon. Yep.
How much was there any surplus, or was pretty much all of it going towards getting tools made at like Salamander Island or something?
The limit for Port Horizon is less of the yield and more of a lack of workforce.
So we're going to go nice and...
So as they were ramping up production because they were getting more kobolds
This is just
and
that,
more lizardmen to work the mines, they were increasing their yield to the point where they were selling metal to Salamander Island.
So now we have an excess that they're actually using to make money instead of just converting. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, there's a trade surplus. It's not just all being immediately consumed by local demand.
Okay.
So they have an ore crisis here. Is that correct?
This is just based off of the grumblings of a couple grumpy gnomes that are in Greypoint, talking about the dealings of Canmore.
I suppose this wouldn't necessarily be all that surprising considering it's an atoll. Though, while it's difficult, after witnessing the goblins and the ogres with diving suits, surely there must be some way they might be able to find materials underwater. But that's just a thought to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thought.
Let's quickly jump over to Vinshenzo on the HMS Fortune and see what he's up to.
Hell yeah. I would leave the ship and seek audience with the ruler.
Ooh.
Hell yeah. So you travel via Gnome Lagoon boat, because they had one that was left there. Nepis is allowing crew members to go on shore leave, so a couple of the Fortune crew are going to go over with you as well. And upon your asking the captain to take you to their leaders, you do not travel to Grey Point, you travel to Canmore. So some people are here, Vin's up here. This is not a very far distance. You can walk between the two. And you are... so you're brought to Canmore, which is more of the industrial heart of Steamgate. And there's a small... what appears to be council chambers... There's a small council chambers that's built partially into the hill, along with many of the workshops. As one of among the few buildings in Canmore that are constructed mostly of stone. A lot of the artwork and murals that are located here are inlaid with opalescent pearl and rainbow pearl and a few other different colors of pearl. And you are brought before the Overseer Zegner, and he greets you, sitting at his desk in an office. And he looks up, and as you're brought in by two very serious-looking gnomes, very seriously dressed in military uniform, and he And he waves you in. He says, "Come in, come in! I do like visitors. Please. It's been a while since I've met someone from the outside."
Greetings.
Greetings!
What is his title again?
Overseer Zegner. His title of Overseer.
I will offer to shake his tiny hand.
He comes up and shakes your large hand with his tiny hand. "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Overseer Zegner. And whomst might you be?"
King Vinshenzo Cairona of Port Horizon.
"Oh, a king! I am blessed by royalty. What an honor! What brings you here, mighty king?"
We wish to be patrons of your healers. The crew of my ship many of them have gotten ill.
"Oh, we take sickness and disease quite seriously here. It can spread like a wildfire amongst the population.
Yes.
Especially disease from the outside world. I hope you kept your afflicted crew members appropriately quarantined."
Your healers have already blessed us with the necessary medicine for us to continue our journey.
"Ah, quite fine, those healers. The greatest in the land come from Grey Point. I hope you bought your supplies from there."
Yes.
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 The greatest in the land. How do you know that? When you haven't set sail outside your meager isles here.
Oh.
Yes, but anything beyond my meager isles doesn't count as my land, does it?
Damn, caught you there, bud.
Did he, though?
Yes.
He said in all the land, not all my land, right?
Oh. That might be true.
Might be.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Tiny gnome with his tiny brain. What does he know anyway?
Not much, apparently.
Gnome way to find out.
Queen Amathray Cairona would like to broker an alliance between the mighty Sanctuary Isle and your humble abode here.
Forgive me for saying, great king, but this is the first that I've heard of your mighty kingdom. I know very little about you and your fine queen. For anything, you probably know very little about me. Are you
Yes.
certain an alliance is something you wish?
You speak quite confidently for someone who isn't aware of the outside world.
We are quite aware of the outside world. We just choose not to seek it out. We are peaceful people, but that does not mean we don't have teeth. There's a very big difference between peaceful and harmless, king. And he gives you a robust wink.
Is this guy like fucking? He's not listening to what I'm saying.
He's listening, he just doesn't seem overly concerned about the dangers of the outside world.
Vinshenzo will shrug then and say, "Very well, have it your way. We will continue our voyage. Thank you to your skilled healers. We will continue on."
Please feel free to visit and trade anytime you wish. We are quite enamored by visitors. Stay as long as you wish.
Very well. Thank you for the hospitality.
The gnome overseer bows and he says, "Mighty king, if you wish to stay here for longer than a day, I can offer you much more luxurious quarters than what you could find in the denizens of Canmore provide. Just say the word, and we'll offer you a place to stay, free of charge."
I'm afraid I must decline. We are on an important mission to faraway lands.
The gnome's expression of sort of cocky statelyhood changes to mild shock, but he nods. He says, "Ah, quite. I understand. Anything important enough to draw a king from his castle must be dealt with so quickly and with much haste, I'm sure."
I will remember your hospitality, small one, and we will speak upon you favorably when we return to the Queen.
That is all a humble gnome could accept. Hope to hear. Good day to you, king, and may you enjoy the rest of your stay on Steamgate.
I will nod confidently and leave.
Oh. Hell yeah. So you, in the town of Canmore, are able to witness something that that the Great Point guys don't get to see.
Oh.
And that is an odd assortment of what look like walking boats that are padding around in the shallows of the lagoon just off the coast of Canmore. There are a few normal-looking gnome boats out in the lagoon as well, but these ones seem to be flitting around the coral reefs, extracting somethings, some sort of stilt or objects from the bed of the lagoon and placing them in pannier baskets. They chuff and puff clouds of steam every once in a while as they plod along through the shallows of the lagoon, kind of like flamingos or cranes with stilty little legs.
Oh.
Aside from that, everything looks, I wouldn't say fairly usual. There's a number of odd contraptions about, but there's not much. There's not much in terms of food production or anything going on. This seems to be the place where the jewelers and the workshops and the artisans come to manufacture and then process their wares and their more industrial ingredients.
I will ask a random passerby if any are around. You there, what are those strange walking contraptions?
You pull over. You stop a gnome in the cobbled streets, and he looks out at the bay of the lagoon. He says, "Ah, well, that would be a whippet."
What did
That's
he
sort of
say?
like a whippet. It's a machine powered by steam engines, but propelled using pneumatic power.
Oh. How queer.
The gnome explains to you that that most of them came from their ancient homeland. However, there are a few that have been built on Steamgate, a precious few when the metal stocks allow.
How big are they?
They look like they're the size of roughly the size of a rowboat.
Hmm. would this be a valuable thing to bring back to Port Horizon?
Possibly. The technology itself, I think is the thing that makes it the most strange.
I will go back
Given the fact that
to the ship and wait for the others.
Okay. Others, how are you guys doing?
We're good.
Vazray is fine, however, she wishes to know the place of where the silver dragon had rested here, briefly. She wishes to know the location on the island.
When you ask around, the citizens of Grey Point let you know that the dragon rested a little bit farther away from any of the towns up here on the main, sort of the main section of the atoll, where it found a good remote place to sleep. It's just north of Grey Point, here on this peninsula, is where the dragon laid to rest.
I wish to venture there and go and visit this place. However, I have one more question, and I think I asked this last session. What direction do they know where the dragon flew?
The dragon flew north after it finished its rest.
We'd be going the opposite direction.
You guys are going east-southeast, effectively.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a note of this. I think the gnomes, and unless Carlos has any more need of me, I am going to go visit this place.
Did we find anything else of interest in the town?
In the town of Grey Point, you do not. As I said, it is sort of like the fishing and agricultural center of the atoll. There are a number of lagoon boats that are traveling to other places, as well as a really nicely laid road that does have signs pointing to Canmore. It seems like it's only a couple miles out of the way. Aside from that, Grey Point is mostly a logistical and agricultural hub.
All right, well then, Carlos would accompany Vazray.
Hell yeah! So you guys walk along the path. It's going to take you about an hour, based on the directions and the information that the local gnomes give Vazray. It should be about an hour's walk to get to where the dragon rested. It's a beautiful sunny day, and as you're walking through the countryside, you see a number of small hamlets and plantations around that are busy with activity from the gnomes. At this point in time, our first encounter with a whippet would be in groves of trees that look to be not fruit-bearing trees, but for some other purpose. And along the trunks of the trees are a number of sap-collecting buckets that are made of wicker baskets. And as you can see, a few of the gnome workers, given how small they are, you can look in and see that the inside of these wicker buckets seem to be coated in some sort of material or substance. And this whippet is not a two-legged bird-like creature like the ones that Vinshenzo would have seen. But this is more of a four-legged creature. It reminds you of a giraffe or a dog. It's long legs with the body of a rowboat, and instead of panniers, there are bladders that are descended from the underside of this rowboat. And it seems as though this is where whatever substance is being collected in the wicker baskets is placed inside the bladders of this machine.
Interesting.
You continue your if you'd like to continue your walk down the road, you are able to find a small dirt path, which seems to be fairly popularly traveled, and it leads out to a nice cliff face that overlooks the lagoon. This is where the dragon was rumored to rest, Vazarai.
Do I see any indentation in the ground where they had rest?
There is
Or grass?
there is a burned clearing in the grass.
A burned clearing?
Oh.
As if- Not burned as in like horribly mutilated. Like it's a area, patches of long grass that have been burnt down to the dirt. Not like a horrible charred mess or anything like this. It looks like it's been cleared out of vegetation in a roughly dragon-sized circle.
Vazray is visibly confused when she sees this. I would like to do either a survival or an investigation check to see if the dragon or some other thing was responsible for this.
Well, you're gonna have to choose. Do you want survival or investigation?
I think investigate.
All right. Roll me your investigation.
Nat 20. That's a 21.
21.
21.
So it appears as though it was not the dragon who did this. However, as you're poking around investigating, you find a handful of dragon scales, silver dragon scales, that are half buried in the dirt.
She seems to get incredibly excited to see these scales. Though confused, she quickly goes over to them and gingerly tries to pick one up.
You successfully pick it up. It is in perfect condition.
The god's children there. So they're scales.
Quite the lucky find.
I must gather them.
All right. So you've managed to collect, let's say, 7 individual scales.
7 silver scales.
Whoa.
7 silver dragon scales from scattered around this little clearing.
Whoa.
How big are they?
They're the size of Vazarai's palm.
Oh,
Each of
wow.
them.
This is a huge moment for Vazaray.
Yeah,
They're
she is
slightly concave.
visibly uplifted.
This is huge.
Seems the stories were true.
Yes, but the dragon would not have caused this burned patch. It is likely that it was somebody else, possibly some of the locals helping clear this.
And why do you believe that?
Silver dragons do not breathe fire.
It's true.
Interesting.
Oh.
They breathe that of the north wind.
That of the north wind.
So this fire is not their doing. If it is anything related to them, it is because they asked for it.
Oh.
Taking the silver scales, tucking them away, she is going to kneel down, holding up her palm with the emblem of Bahamut burned in her hand, and she brings it to the ground for a second, holding it there. And with her other hand, holds the amulet of Bahamut and prays there for a moment. So this is a joyous day to see something. This is the closest she's been to one of Bahamut's children right now, as far as she's concerned. So it's a good omen.
A good omen.
Certainly is a shame we don't have the time right now to go after him.
I'll remember the Silver Dragon's name, Remus. Hopefully we will meet in time. But for now, I believe you are right. We do still have things to do, but this is a good sign.
This is a huge moment.
I'm glad it has raised your spirits. To be honest, you seemed rather down as of late.
Oh.
It is because of all that has happened recently, as well as the fact that, quite honestly, I feel disconnected from my god, and that is truly testing my faith right now. But I will continue to hold it.
Must admit, faith has never been of too much importance to me. It was more of a struggle to survive, and then never found something that interested me.
That doesn't necessarily surprise me. You're not one of piety, it seems, and you're also not a natural-born kobold. So it may not be such a big deal to you. But I think I've spent enough time here. We have these blessed scales with us. Surely they may come in handy later.
Perhaps.
Maybe even bring.
Shall we return?
Yes, we should probably go and find Vinshenzo. He's probably up to something in these towns.
I'm sure he's fine.
Oh, I have no doubt of that, for it is King Vinshenzo. It is more... Never mind, let's just go find him.
Where do you think he might be?
That's a good question. The last time I recall seeing him was on the boat, is that correct?
Last you heard, he was on the ship.
Where is our ship currently?
Reference the map.
Yes.
It's on the map.
Oh, shit. Okay, well.
Either way, we'll have to arrange transport to get that medicine from the town to our ship.
Are any gnomes standing around us right now?
There are no gnomes currently at the dragon's resting place. However, you are aware that the road that you guys were walking on before you turned off to go to the point is well traveled. You passed lots of gnomes. It should be easy to find one and track him down. Hello, can I help you?
I'm hoping to speak to one of them on the way back, but otherwise I'm ready to go. I think we were spending time in Grey Point, so we'll probably head back to Grey Point.
Yes.
We'll run into Vinshenzo. He's not exactly the most difficult person to find. So he's just easy to slip from one's grasp, so to speak.
Is truth. We're just going to quickly bounce to Paelias. What are you up to, Paelias?
Not much.
Did Paelias come with us, or is he still in town?
I'm not
No,
sure.
I'd still be in town. Did not.
There you go. He's hanging out in town.
As one does.
Is there do they have any magical shops or anything of the like here?
When you ask about magic shops, you are directed to the town of Canmore.
Alright, well in that case, I would probably head to Canmore. See what they got.
Alright. So, alright, you head off to Canmore. It's the same length of time. It takes an hour to get to Canmore, because instead of turning right and going this way, you just go straight up and over the little hills and stuff, and it's a nice little walk. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon. You observe the same observings that the other two previously did. There's a number of plantations. Some are being worked by gnomes. Others like the plantation with the large machine. You see that as well. As you're walking, you catch sight of your friends in the distance, and they seem to be conversing with a gnome and Vazrai. Conversing with a gnome. You wish to converse with the gnomes and ask if they knew anything about Remus or aided them. And this is a farm worker. He is a young lad who happens to really enjoy his job herding pigs.
Oh.
And he's actually on his way back. He's covered in mud and smells a little bit gamey. He's on his way back. He says he's just going to go grab himself a quick bath before supper. And he tells you that he not only knew about Remus, but he was around when Remus had landed to rest. And he asks if you knew the dragon too.
I do not know the dragon. However, I have seen this place where he has rested, and I am glad to see that this dragon has come to visit. Were the farmers here responsible for this burned circle in the ground that he decided to rest?
The gnome shakes his head and informs you that it was in fact the local boiler guards that cleared out that patch of ground for the dragon, and it was at the dragon's request. The great Remus asked that the vegetation be cleared away so that it wouldn't get destroyed when he took his rest.
Very well. Then I thank you greatly, and I'd best leave you be to clean yourself up. You look like you've had a long day.
Oh, I have had a long day. I'm gonna go off to Canmore after my bath and go dancing. Find myself a fair maiden.
Vazrai smiles. Sounds like a plan.
Yes, peace be with you, my friend. And he carries on his merry way. And
you.
about that time, Paelias happens to stride up.
Vazrai looks to Paelias for a moment. What are you doing out here?
I was on my way to what was it called? Canmore? Canmore. Heard they might have some magic shops over there.
We have only been to Greypoint so far as I'm aware.
The other town is called Buckle Hollow, and I'll just get the mystique out of the way. It is a rubber plantation and manufacturing area.
Neat.
Oh damn. Okay.
That's Buckle Hollow. So you got Greypoint, the food place, Canmore, the industry and capital, and then Buckle Hollow, which is a big rubber thing.
Big rubber thing.
Big rubber. Into the rubber out there.
Oh, Carlos, what do you say? Perhaps we might be able to find something in Canmore?
That's always worth taking a look. Perhaps we'll find something that can help us in our adventures.
Agreed. Then, if you don't mind, we'll be accompanying you, Paelias.
Of course.
Sorry, what was that?
No, just
your brain.
Just Knight putting it. No, Knight put it in chat. Man, I'm stuttering really bad.
Yeah, stutter right now. Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's right. Go ahead and start making her way to Canmore.
It's a half an hour walk to Canmore. You arrive after a nice jaunty stroll. You see over the hill, as well, sort of along the hill as you walk across, walk down the path. As soon as you turn, reference the map. there's my little thing here. So your little path here sort of follows this lighter green until it gets here. It follows the contours around the leeward side of the island. So as you round this point, you catch sight of the water whippets that look like cranes / flamingos padding about in the shallows. But you also get to catch Canmore itself, which the upper parts of Canmore are where a lot of the workshops are located. There are lower shipwright facilities closer to the shore, and then a number of small stone houses and things like that. It looks like the gnomes sort of excavated out sections to put their larger buildings and then used that stone to build the buildings themselves with. It's all quite, locally constructed. A lot of glass is around as well, given the unnecessarily copious amounts of sand on atolls. Probably makes a lot of sense. Canmore itself is home to about 2,000 gnomes, and as you walk in, you are greeted with smiles and polite good afternoons from the gnomes, and many are eager to see you approach from their shop fronts. They call out good sales and great prices and quality trade offered through many of the vendors. A few gnomes in what look like sharply tailored military dress and conical bowl helmets give you not wary eyes, but they give you polite nods, but make it known that you're being watched.
Oh no.
I give them a polite nod back.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Through your browsing of the shops and the general industries here, you are aware of the fact that aside from your usual vendors, there are steam engineers, artificers, jewelers, toolsmiths, and shipwrights conducting their business in Canmore. Should any of those services interest you?
Ooh.
Say that one more time.
Artificer.
Jewelers, artificers, steam engineers, shipwrights, and toolsmiths, along with your more standard traders.
Yeah, I'll take a look at some artificer stuff. Why not?
Oh yes.
Vazra doesn't have much interest, but she'll follow along to peruse.
You enter into one of the artificers' storefronts. There's a fairly robustly proportioned older gnome. Seems about as horizontally wide as he is tall, and he relaxes on a lawn chair out in front of his shop, underneath a wicker umbrella. And he slowly gets up as you enter into his store and follows you in and says, "Ah, good day, kind sirs. I don't think I've made your acquaintance before."
I bow down, or not bow down. I lean down and offer to shake his hand.
He stands on his tiptoes for just long enough to shake your hand back before nearly losing balance and having to set himself squarely on the ground again. He says, "My name is Tharp, the Artificer. Can I help you with anything?"
Hi, I am Paelias, a wizard. I'm looking for magical artifacts.
Oh,
And
magical
my
artifact.
yes, and my friend, I point over to Vasrai is looking for a enchanted item that would allow her to fly. If you have such a thing, or if you know of such a thing on this island.
Vazra perks up hearing about this.
An enchanted item that'll allow you to fly. Well, just plays your luck. I'm one of the few artificers on this island who knows how to make such a device. But, to your misfortune, this atoll has not had the right materials to make such a contraption for quite a long time now, and I'm afraid that I just cannot deliver. If I was to have the materials, young master, I'd be able to make them for you, but not now. As for your... Pardon?
What kind of materials do you require?
Oh, it's a whole host of complicated bits and bobs. I'm sure you've... more for those in the profession to understand, you see. But I could get you a list if you're of the adventurous type. You must have come from a ship out on the sea. I've never seen your face before, and I like to think of myself as a man who remembers all the outsiders.
Well, I don't suppose you run into very many kobolds and elves here, so you'd be correct.
Oh, mostly goblins these days.
Goblins?
Yes, goblins.
Oh.
They're the ones that bring us most of our island's metal.
Oh.
In exchange for pearls, usually as the medium of trade. You wouldn't happen to be interested in trading in pearls now, would you too?
I would murder this guy if I was there.
We prefer more hard currency.
Old hard coin, eh? That's just fine by me. And he gives a throaty chuckle. Well, what sorts of magical wares are you looking for, Master Elf? Are you looking to peruse?
I didn't have anything specific in mind other than for my friend there, but if you can show me some of what you got, I'd be interested in taking a look.
He pats his gut and says, I'm not one for tours, but feel free to peruse at your own speed. I'll be here to answer any questions.
All right.
And
I shall take a look around.
Just double check. He's got a lot of common magic items.
Does he have the handy spice pouch?
The handy spice pouch that
Yeah,
you've been looking for.
Heward's handy spice pouch.
Is that
It's
a
common magic item?
Is that a Xanathar's Guide item, or is that a DMG?
It's a Sanathar's Guide common magic item.
I just need to see what the price looks like so I know what to charge ya.
Lazray is a little nervous after hearing about the goblins, but she tries to just simply listen in. Not
Yes,
for the moment.
he does have it, and he's willing to give it to you for a very reasonable 150 gold pieces. And he tells you, it's the only one I've got in stock when you pick it up and take a look at it. I've got the haversack as well in back, but that's an extra special price.
Does he have a bag of holding, which is a common item, or uncommon DMG item?
He will go take a look in the back. And as you wait for what seems to be an unnecessarily long amount of time, given the size and shape of this workshop / storefront, seems unnecessary how long he's gone. And then he comes back out, and he has a bag of holding in his hand, and he says, "Hey, I do have one." Normally we make these for the whippets, but I keep a few around for personal use as well.
How much would it run me?
The bag of holding. 150 gold pieces. For you, my friend.
Alright, well then I'll get both of them for what, 30 platinum? That would be 300 gold, right?
Yeah, 30 platinum.
Yeah. Nice.
Hell yeah. Carlos, are you interested in any wondrous wares? Can you give me,
Possibly, but Carlos isn't very familiar with.
Might
one
return
magical
one more
item.
thing, but I'll get back to that.
Okay. The salesman artificer looks at Carlos and he says, "Hey, you look like a sort of lad who can handle himself. Have you ever had yourself a pair of shock gauntlets?"
I can't say I have. Tell me more.
Well, imagine, if you would, you find yourself stuck in a corner betwixt a rock and a very large man, and you feel the need to get away quick. Well, a snap of the fingers and a grab of any exposed body part, and your adversary will be writhing on the ground, and you'll have a clear avenue to the great beyond. And he gives you a wink. 200 gold pieces, and the gauntlets are yours. 100 each. That's a steal. I usually sell them for 350, but I can tell that you're a serious man who enjoys serious quality.
Let me consider.
Or, if you're a fancy, I'll take 2 pearls.
Sort of the exact mechanics of this item. It's called shock gauntlets or storm gauntlets.
If you find it in the DMG, it's not that. I have a few gnomish specials that I whipped up today at work.
Okay.
So shock gauntlets are they are 1d6 lightning or thunder, whatever the hell the electricity damage is.
And lightning, thunder is noise more.
So lightning, and then the person has to succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1d4 rounds.
Would damage interrupt the paralyzation?
No.
How many charges do you
Hang on. I don't think taking damage normally interrupts paralysis.
I don't think so.
Unless it specifically states.
Yeah.
Normally I wouldn't, I want to say.
Oh, that's weird. Sorry, you said how many charges they have? 2 charges, and then you have to take a long rest.
Okay. So they have 2 charges per long rest, basically?
Yeah.
What's the DC?
It's going to be a DC 15.
Okay. Interesting. And he said he was offering them for 200 gold?
100 gold pieces each gauntlet, or 2 pearls.
I have it, pearls.
Of course, I'm not going to sell you 1 gauntlet. You'll have to buy the pairs at 200 gold pieces.
Naturally. Remind me, there's something I picked up in the sunken city. It was a glass globe. I don't remember what exactly that was, though.
Oh, fuck.
Do you remember what that was? I just have glass globe in my notes.
Nephis guarding girls, Paelias setting women free, elven plate that everybody left behind, tome of surgical practices. No.
I have that.
Well, I know you have that. Where did you find it?
I don't.
Or, sorry, when did you find it?
I think the same time I found the Tinker's tools.
It was in the laboratory,
Yeah.
creature
Did
experiment.
you ever
place.
try and identify it? Or did you just pick it up and, fuck off with it, and you're like, I'll figure it out later?
I think it looked important, so I just took it and figured out. Was going to figure it out later.
Okay, well, in that case, there's your answer. You know that you have a glass globe, but you're not quite sure what it does.
While we're on the topic of exchanging goods, there's a couple things I was wondering if you could take a look at for me. Maybe you could tell me more about them and might be interested in a trade of some sort. And Carlos would dig in his bag, and first he'd pull out the finely elegantly crafted tinker's tools that he found and put those on the counter. Is this something you might be interested in?
The artificer is going to... What's your passive insight?
My passive insight? That's 10 plus your insight, right?
Yes.
It's like passive perception, except calculated with the insight stuff.
Correct.
17 is my passive insight.
Okay, so he tries to keep a straight face, and he does a good job. Except he didn't realize that he was bartering with Carlos. Vezra is also aware of this, but he doesn't realize he was bartering with the sharp-eyed, witful Carlos Santiago, who notices that his breathing gets a little bit more shallow and quick, and his heart sort of flutters up into his lungs, and he tries really hard and succeeds for the layperson, but doesn't succeed well enough for your examining gaze. He is very, very interested in these tools, but he's trying to make it seem like he's not. But he's very interested in these tools, and his fingers flutter over them, touching each of the intricately crafted elven tools, and he says, "Oh, these are quite rare and unique. I've never seen anything made like this before. Oh, I don't know where you came across them."
And you might never again. You see, these are of elvish make, as I'm sure your acute eye could make out.
I could, but I've never seen elven craftsmanship like this before. What flavor of elves made these?
What kind were they?
Vazra continues
They
to
were,
be nervous.
the elves from Morrowind were high elves.
High elves, Yes, it was high elves.
So intricately made. And what an interesting inscription here, too. I know a little bit of Elvish, but I've never heard of a place called Morrowind. How interesting. Yes. You wouldn't happen to have them for sale, would you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they are very valuable. I'm not sure if you could afford them, honestly. I mean, Morrowind was actually a continent of high elves on where we come from, our plane of existence, before we ended up here, as I'm sure the same happened to you fine folk.
Ah, yes. That's many a long time ago. It was hard to forget such a trauma like that. Well, long lost, you say? Well, that must be very few of its kind remaining. Such delicate tools like these could only be left to the hands of qualified tradesmen, perhaps even able to replicate such fine precision in the tools.
Yes, I guess perhaps someone of the skill could replicate them, and which would make them even more valuable as a template, would it not?
I think the only one that I'd know of who could do such a thing like that is... Oh. Well, I'm sure that you wouldn't want to go wandering hither and yon. I'm sure for a fair trade, I could take those off your hands and ensure that they end up in the proper care and ownership, as only a fine set of one-of-a-kind tools like this could be done. I'd take those off your hands for, I'd say, let's call it 300 gold pieces, and I'll even throw in a couple coins of delving. I have them fresh off of my mint.
300.
Vazray, if she's going, I wonder if I need to do sleight of hands for this. I want to try and like poke at Carlos for a second to try and get his attention. I don't know how much the gnome is paying attention if a sleight of hands check is required.
Sleight of hands check is required if you're going to slightly of hand things, yep.
Kind of poke him. That is a dirty 20.
Yeah, he's spending more time oogling like the precision measuring tools and small hammers and chisels and such.
Carlos, you feel Vazray poke at you subtly. If you were to look in her direction, she subtly shakes her head no.
Oh, is she trying to tell me that they're worth far more?
Yes.
So, okay. Carlos is going to make a quick glance at Vazrai, and then he's going to use a charge of his Earring of Message, and he's going to send her a message. And he's going to say to her, yes, I agree, they are worth more. But how much? And she does have one reply. I forget how many words it is, like 20 or 15?
25 words or less.
25?
Or less.
Okay, yeah.
If it's as valuable as he says, it's better in Sanctuary's hands.
With 19 passive wisdom, can I overhear them?
Overhear the message or the...
Oh,
like,
sorry,
them-
they were messaging. No, but I
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
hear them.
the 19
I
passive
thought they were
Out of my
whispering
head.
because I was typing stuff.
Man, that's
Get
psychic.
out of my head!
Get out of my head.
Long range 50.
Why do you keep doing long
I'm
range 50?
Let me think it over, but while I am, perhaps you could help me with something else. And he'd dig in his bag again and pull out the glass globe that he recovered from the sunken city. And
Oh, that's a drift globe. I like those. Those are fancy little things.
a drift globe, what does it do?
It is like it's like a reusable torch. Effectively, it's much better than a torch, of course. But it's I actually made one for my apprenticeship. I became a journeyman after constructing a drift globe. They're quite useful for exploring dark places or delving into areas, or if you're of the crafting sort, it provides good light when you're underneath a whippet or a boat or whatever. I'm not sure what kind of crafting you do.
DM.
Player.
Vazray would like to do a perception check, unless passive is fine. I want to scan the room. Are there any signs of diving suits? Uh-oh, did I scare the DM away?
Probably.
Oh,
Hello.
if there's a quack, that means he DC'd. Okay.
I guess I went out and in again. I did hear your question, and the answer, if it didn't go through, is you do see a battered goblin diving helmet, but it is a decoration.
Uh,
hanging on the wall near the ceiling, just kind of it's displayed as a knickknack with a few other interesting knickknacks around. There's a what looks to be a bronze inlaid pickaxe that is also sitting up on the wall too.
This looks like the gear of the goblins that we found recently, and
It's exactly the gear of the goblins that you found recently. If you guys kept any of the diving suits, then you probably have 2 or 3 of them on your ship now too.
We have one on the ship because I took one with me.
Didn't the Elven twins have it too?
Yes.
No, we air bubble.
we air bubbled, and I didn't know if they would fit in them because they were for hobgoblins.
Okay.
I mean, we might still have 2 of those other suits, but no, we did bubble on them.
Bubble.
Vazray doesn't feel so comfortable in front of this gnomish artificer anymore.
Okay.
DM.
Claire.
Are there any artisans on Sanctuary Island that would be able to like use tools of this craftsmanship?
The dwarves would immediately pop to your mind as craftsmen who engage in that sort of that realm of work.
Pretty good choice.
The dwarves are the most skilled craftsmen on Sanctuary Island.
How do the dwarves feel about using elvish equipment?
Back in Migranland, the dwarves that were part of the alliance were also allied with elves, and those dwarves have a fairly cordial friendship with elves and elf descendants, as they did regularly trade with Drow. So they don't have any particular issue with elven tools. Obviously, dwarven tools are far superior, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, elven tools, they're definitely useful, and they're a different brand of craftsmanship. It's like metric versus imperial to a dwarf. It's like, I can totally use them. They're pretty good. They're just not the same measurement sizes.
Right.
But anybody who's skilled in craftsmanship can easily make the conversions, especially something as rudimentary as tools for elves.
All right. So yeah, Carlos would ask the gnome what the value of this drift globe is. Then
I put a value on a drift globe. Back in the old world, we'd sell them for 500 apiece. But here we can still manufacture them. I'd keep that price about the same. I'd say 500.
wow, this is something that has like very little value to Carlos. Honestly, since he doesn't need light, it does. Yeah. 500.
Carlos's
So-
eyes have lit up.
Absolutely.
The drift globe can create light up to so it has sort of a light and a daylight function, and the gnome is happy to explain the function of it to you. So you can either you can speak a command word and cause it to emanate light or daylight. So light from the light spell is 20 foot. There's bright light in a 20-foot radius, and then dim light for an additional 20 feet. Whereas the daylight is 60 feet of bright light, and then dim light for an additional 60 feet.
Damn. It's a lot of light.
And the drift globe will float around and follow you.
Carlos would look at Paelias and ask him if he had any interest in this drift globe.
Sorry, what does the drift globe do?
You
I was looking at different magic items.
You can utter
My
its
question,
command
like-
word to create to essentially cast either light or daylight spell. You get to choose, and it follows you around. It hovers 5 feet in the air, and if you move farther than 60 feet away, it will float after you.
I mean, sure. That's pretty useful.
I'll tell you what. Buy me the shock gauntlets that he's selling, and it's yours.
How much do you want for him?
200 for the shock gauntlets. The globe is valued at like 500 gold.
Sure. Well, another 20 platinum there.
Ching,
Ka-ching.
cha-ching. Carlos helped somebody and also got something for free.
It's true. Are you is still interested in selling him the tools or no?
Perhaps. Carlos is going to make a show of like really hemming and hawing, and he's like, oh, I don't know. We do have some dwarves back on the island that could probably use these, and he's kind of like gonna move to like.
If you want to
Start,
roll
like, picking it up.
persuasion to haggle or any of that, you can do that for your roll persuasion. Yeah. Roll persuasion.
A second.
Yeah.
See how effective that is. So that is 14 plus 14 is 28.
As you begin, so his hands have effectively been like resting on the tool case the whole time you guys have been talking, and he's, as you sort of like, oh well, I got some, and you start to pull away, and his hands like they stay there, and you have to actually like get out of his little hands, and you go, oh hell, I'm sure the dwarves back where you're from are skilled craftsmen, but nothing can possibly outmatch the tinkering potential of the gnomes. I'm sure they would do much better here, and we could always bring more copies of the tools once I found the appropriate craftsman, of course, to replicate them. If you ever come visit again, I'm sure we can give you more tools to bring back to your dwarven friends. That way they don't have to share. His tone adopts. It betrays his excitement, and it adopts almost a hint of not desperation but eagerness.
Vazray once again gives you the nod of no, Carla.
The nod of no.
I'd be willing to part with a few more gold pieces, a few pearls, even if that would change your mind to leave them here. Perhaps I could increase the price by another 200 gold pieces.
So would that bring it up to like 400 gold? Or 500? What was it?
I think he offered to
300, right?
buy them from
Originally
you for
300 gold.
So he's
And then
offering
switch
to 300 gold and a few coins of delving. He'll give you 5 coins of delving.
Ooh.
And then now tacking on an additional 200 gold pieces. So
And he's even
500.
offering to like try to replicate the tools if we come back.
That was what his original sort of like sales pitch to you was, like, hey, I could buy them from you, and we could always make a few more. It's the last one left. A shame to if anybody can do it, we can. And now you're sitting there going like, well, I got some friends. Like, oh no, please, hey, look, see. He's still like, he's trying to really go down that avenue. He's like,
Yeah.
That's his. Yeah.
And you really believe you can?
Mr. Santiago, if I could speak for a moment.
Yes, Vazrai.
Perhaps we should discuss this with King Vinshenzo first.
King Vinshenzo doesn't know of their existence.
Ought he know about this?
They're simply some tools. It's beneath him.
Yes, listen to your erstwhile companion, my young friend. These are not the items of nobility. These are simply mere craftsman tools, but they are quite wonders. I'm sure your great king wouldn't need to know about normal business dealings of us regular folk.
She squints at him.
Of course, if you'd like to go tell your king, and he could come along and lend an experienced eye, and yes, I do suppose a good kingly vision and wisdom could be used in this. And his eyes sort of flash.
Please,
Flash
if we
eagerly.
could just have a moment to speak with Lord Cairona or King Cairona about this. He might be able to appraise it better.
Carlos would give Vazrai a look. Like, what are you talking about? Because he's like a fucking bard. He is not an artisan.
Vazrai gives Carlos a look of disgust, if anything.
Carlos scowls at her and turns away. Like, how dare you judge me after all I've done for you?
The gnome is just looking between the two of you, looking at each other, very unsure of how this is going. A little bit confused, a little bit concerned.
My companion does not want me to sell these. They feel that the value is too great.
She, trying not to be subtle about it this time, will shake her head in agreement to that statement.
I agree. Roll persuasion there. I'll allow either Carlos or... What, say again?
I'd like to lean in and whisper in Vazrai's ear. You do know we have another pair on the ship, right?
She's gonna whisper back. It doesn't matter. They do.
What do you have a pair of, Paelias?
Tinker's tools.
Yeah, but they're trying
And
to...
Mason.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Yeah, I got Tinker's tools and Mason's tools from there, like during the initial pre-flooding part.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's
So
why I'm like,
That is true.
He doesn't know that there's more.
yeah, he doesn't know that. Like, I get that Carlos is trying to raise the price, was like, it's totally fair to sell them.
Vazrai is.
She just doesn't want him to get them because he trades with goblins. Is that what the deal is?
For a number of reasons. Again, she can't exactly speak with you freely right now. She doesn't look comfortable in front of this gnome.
My friends, I've run this establishment as my only stock in trade. I'm not going to be going anywhere. If you feel the need to discuss amongst yourselves, I'd be happily waiting here.
Anyway, I did roll a C13 plus 14, 27. And Carlos is going to use another charge of his earring as a message because he never really uses it anyway, so whatever. And he's going to send Vazrai another message like, what are you getting at? Is there some other reason you don't want this gnome to have these? We're getting a good deal.
If we want to speak about it, we should speak of it outside, not here.
Carlos can't believe she just wasted a message.
At least she didn't have to speak out loud to send that message.
All right. Well, while the others are contemplating, do you happen to have a alchemy jug?
I'm afraid I'm fresh out of those.
Paelias, watch these for a moment, will you? Apparently,
Sure.
Vazra and I have some business to discuss. And Carlos would usher her out the door.
She walks out the door. Doesn't need much convincing. She seems happy to leave the store.
Now look, we have another set of these tools. 500 gold would go a long way to procuring more supplies for our voyage. What is the problem exactly?
She speaks in a hushed tone. I do not trust this gnome. Of the other gnomes here, I do not trust this one. He's working with people that have no business doing what they're doing. He practically a criminal here.
A criminal?
Yeah.
On what grounds?
Just pilfering and destroying the elven ruins that we were going through. Did you not see the suit on the wall?
I
Clear
don't
what
believe
they are
he's personally...
What about murder?
Really? He's murdered somebody. You have proof of this.
All the bodies.
What bodies?
The bodies down there underwater. Have you no eyes?
The elves that were killed by goblins, which are not gnomes?
That's my point.
Actually,
Related.
which both of you would know, they suicided by poison.
Oh, yeah. At most, there was, one elf that might have been killed by goblins, but also maybe Sahagin. Most of them committed suicide to Vazrai.
And let me ask this. Even if you were to take this deal and he makes a copy, what says that he has to do this? What says that he's telling the truth? What says that he's going to give you something to this quality? You're forfeiting an advantage that our island needs.
We already have a set.
And why not two? I'd rather trust dwarven craftsmanship over gnomish craftsmanship.
Oh, damn.
We can easily have the dwarves reverse engineer the other sets.
But will it
What's
be
the
same?
harm in having more sets? Perhaps they're maybe not quite as good as dwarves. I don't know much about gnomes or dwarves, to be honest. But what's to say they're a little bit worse? I'm sure they're still serviceable. We'll be getting a nice profit, and then we'll come back and perhaps get another set or two, depending on what he's offering, what he's managed to do. Like I said, this money could go a long way to help us with our voyage here. We don't know how many suppliers we're going to burn through and when we're going to find another friendly trade location.
Vazray still looks very uncertain about this and just how he's mentioning the money. Are you concerned about the profit or actually our continued survival?
Well, don't they go hand in hand? The more profit I can make, the better our survival, is it not?
I
And
can be
these
worried about
tools-
two things at once.
And these tools, both of them, could ensure us longevity.
The
could help
heavier your
secure our
pockets,
futures.
the faster you sink, Mr. Carlos.
Yes! Yes!
Only the only skilled negotiator on the island hadn't just fucked off to the ship as soon as he could.
I love night.
That's right. I think your I think your prejudices are blinding you here.
My prejudice is against goblins, not gnomes.
So if he deals
Yeah.
with goblins, he's obviously a neutral party here.
Are you so
It's
sure
not like he's
about that?
personally going out there and pilfering. He's an artisan. He works a storefront. There's no way he could steal away in the dead of night and go pilfering into some elvish ruins and just start taking things, maybe a light murdering on the side. It's unreasonable, Fazrai.
I just think that he is hiding everything from you, and you do not see it. But I
Hiding
think
what? That he sells to whoever comes to buy things?
the way he speaks is a facade, Carlos.
Oh,
And it is very clear that when he's trying to give you a price for these tools, you will find that the value that you are getting is hardly anything they are perhaps worth. That coin is not worth it. These tools are. We have what we need right here.
What would you value these tools at, Fazrai?
we have each other.
Possibly the multiple of thousands of gold. but
Thousands
definitely
of
not
gold.
500. Correct. Did he not say that these were a masterwork, that these were perhaps one of a kind, especially considering they were elven make? Don't you think that Lord Cairona would have great interest in these? Isn't it in his elven nature?
I don't know how well he gets along with high elves, to be honest.
We just went into an underwater city saving people. It was never about the books. It was never about any of this. It was about the elves.
Oh my god.
And we did what we could. We rescued 2 of them.
Make Sanctuary great again.
Precisely my point.
It was never about the books.
It was never about the books.
I go back
tell
in
that
there.
because he allowed libraries to be burned.
We have to build a wall in the water to keep the goblins out.
And the goblins will pay for it.
Fazrai does not like goblins.
If I go back in there, and let's say I somehow manage to convince him to part with 1,000 gold for these, would that satisfy you?
1,000?
1,000.
Absolutely
1,000.
not.
This is awesome. I love this.
Only King Cairona would perhaps be the best person here to appraise these.
Someone's going to actually bother grabbing him.
Isn't it not? You're a businessman. Wouldn't it be best for you to talk with the king and be able to discuss this with your business partner, if I understand your stories correctly?
Do you know where he is, Fazrai?
We do need to find him, but considering how big this island is, and considering it's Vinshenzo, I don't think that'll be too hard.
I know Vinshenzo.
We either have to look 2 places. 1, the nearest inn. 2, the ship.
No, if there's one thing I remember from Vinshenzo during our early adventures together, he would always seek out the leader. If we were to find him anywhere, I do believe we'd find him wherever their leader resides. It was the first thing he did. In pretty much every city we went to, he would request audience with their leader.
And that is wise for him to do.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Are there any gnomes nearby?
Yes. There are a few who looked at you as they were passing on the street with your conversation, but were respectful enough to not.
We really should have been arguing a Draconic just so that people weren't overhearing.
That would have been absolutely hilarious. 2 gibbering kobolds standing outside an artificer's shop.
Can we have that? Just retroactively say that we were talking in Draconic?
She could absolutely do that.
I feel like it would be really, really cool.
Yeah,
in my head, the way that Carlos speaks Draconic is probably the way that I, as a human being, speak French, where it's
Probably.
you're good enough to know how to talk it, but you stumble a little bit through your words, and you're very, very enthusiastic, but the vocabulary is like, and then
It's like the difference
Kardoc
between
is
like
very aggressive
like
too.
technical accuracy and being like fluent, right?
mother
Well,
tongue
we're-
versus second language proficient.
So like, everything I might be saying might be like proper, and exacting, but it's probably a little slower and it doesn't like roll off the tongue as someone that like spoke the language their entire life.
You speak Draconic with a foreign accent.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yes, I will allow it to be retcon that you two are
Hell yeah.
arguing in Draconic, and there are gnomes that pass by that are within easy calling reach, I guess.
What are
Like
they
if you want to
so
flag one of them
pissed
down, it's not hard to find.
So did we get any looks while we were arguing?
Oh yeah, 100%. There are people who are like passing by and trying to be polite and not like sticking their big gnomish noses into other creatures' affairs, but it's hard not to pay attention to two kobolds who you never see arguing on the street in a language you don't ever really hear.
Hilarious.
Like-
All right.
I was walking down
Oh,
the
I
street
see.
and there were two like Africans speaking in their native sub-Saharan language. I'd probably try, like, it'd be hard for me not to look. So that's
It's
probably
funny
what they're
You
doing.
mentioned that. So at work we actually have a couple of airmen that are from Nigeria, and every once in a while I'll hear them over in their area speaking in their like whatever language it is, like some kind of African language, and it's like surreal. Anyway,
No, yeah.
but Carlos would look over at like a gnome, whatever one was closest, if he was passing by or just standing there.
Mhm.
Excuse me, good sir, and he'd speak in common again.
Oh, oh, me?
Yes, you. Do you happen to know where your leader is? Is this your capital city here?
He nods and he points at the council chambers that are farther up the hill. They're actually on the same street that you're on. They're just at the top of the hill. And he points up there and he says, "Yes, the governmental leaders are up there. The overseer should be in his office."
Most excellent, thank you. And he turned back to Vazrai and started speaking in Draconic again. All right, look. So he's probably there. So why don't you go? If you could go fetch him, I will resist selling these tools to the gnome until your return. Is that acceptable?
You would be wise not to sell them.
You would be
With-
wise.
With the look that he gave you, I'd almost say that if you were to keep him, he might be interested in trying to sneak up on the ship and trying to steal him himself.
My God.
How outlandish.
Is it? Are we not in an outlandish realm now?
This is a
I know.
modern age, okay? Gnomes have rights too.
This whole realm is outlandish. Look at this place.
Look, you have my word, I will not sell these tools without both of you present. Okay, so if you can go find Vinshenzo, please, we can perhaps resolve this matter.
Very good. I will find him as quickly as I can. And
Thank you.
Vazrai goes to run to the building to see if she can find Vinshenzo. She's going to try and be hurried about it.
I'll be right
Okay.
back. Just a sec.
Carlos is gonna mutter. Carlos is gonna mutter something to himself in Elvish.
You so that's right. You run up to the main the council building of Canmore, and you are greeted at the door by two gnomish soldiers carrying what look to be very strange spears and shields that are made of metal banding and look to be some sort of concoction of seashells coated on the outside. And they block your passage as you're rushing. And one of the guards asks, "Hello there, young one. What's the rush?"
I'm looking for a King Cairona. It's a tall elf drow. That's
Yes,
have
the
you-
foreign king. Yeah, he was here A little over an hour and a bit ago, but he left quite quickly after a meeting with the overseer.
Do you know where he has gone?
I do believe he took a lagoon boat back to his ship. Would you like me to call ahead?
I would appreciate that. I must speak with him.
He nods and he heads back. He heads inside the council chambers, and a minute or two later, he comes back out again and he says, "Well, I've called down to the docks, and there will be a lagoon boat there waiting for you if you'd like to go back to your ship."
Thank you so much. And
Have a nice day.
gives him a bow, and she quickly rushes off to go to this lagoon boat to get ready to head back to the ship to find Vin.
Don't run too far, you might slip and fall.
Oh, I didn't understand this.
I didn't understand
thing.
that
Don't run too fast, you might trip and fall.
That's better.
Good thing she's nimble and fast and has good deck saves.
It's true.
I do a somersault.
Nimbly and fastly somersault your way down to the Canmore docks.
It's more graceful than my entrance to the island.
There's a lagoon boat with an old crusty looking gnome with his pointed cap and a couple of his friends on the lagoon boat. They're docked. They seem to be waiting for someone, likely you. And next to them is docked what looks to be an ironclad lagoon boat with a number of soldiers standing on it.
Yeah.
Some of them carry strange-looking tanks on their backs. As you walk up to the older gnome, he greets you and he says, "Are you the one looking for a lagoon boat ride back to the outsider's ship on the windward?"
I am.
Yes, very well. Step aboard. We'll be off shortly.
She nods and she steps aboard.
Awesome. You take it takes you about. Oh, let me take a look at the map and judge that here. It's going to take you about not even 20 minutes to get around the coast, onto the windward side of the island, leave the safety of the atoll, and float your way south to moor up against the HMS Fortune, where Nephis can be seen fishing off of the side of the ship, and perchance Vinshenzo might be on deck as well. But you are quickly let overboard onto the cargo netting, which is used to get from the much taller Fortune down to the much smaller lagoon boats.
I am doing Song of Rest on the crew.
There you go. He's taking care of his crew. What a great king.
Indeed.
Hell yeah.
Vazray asks if the lagoon boat, Jesus Christ, I really can't speak right now, could remain here for the moment while I fetch Lord Cairona.
Absolutely, dearie. We'll stay as long as you need.
Thank you. And she's going to climb aboard and is going to try and wave at Vinshenzo, who is doing his Song of Rest.
Hell yeah. I will set my lute aside and ask Vazrael what she needs.
I am in need of your assistance, King Cairona, for I fear that Carlos may be doing something that he may regret. He is attempting to sell these.
Isn't he?
Damn.
He is preparing to sell some tools that we got recently. And this artificer at the store, I feel that he is undercutting quite much for what these tools may possess, their qualities. Apparently they're one of a kind. If you could please come over here to the artificer's building to discuss this with Carlos, I feel that you would be better able to appraise these. Then I do have another concern.
I am not surprised that Mr. Carlos filled his pockets while exploring the ruins of Morwyn. But
Well,
that doesn't mean I give my approval for such things.
That is why I fear is that his greed may be getting the best of him, and I wish to have the betters of business, the two of you of business, be able to discuss this. And she's going to, with her tiny hand, try to gesture you closer. That way she can whisper to you.
Well, I trust Carlos will fetch a good price for such things, but I don't know. It's not. It wasn't our business. It wasn't our place to take such things.
Well, they may be of great benefit to Sanctuary, but if he goes and sells these things, we may lose this advantage.
True enough.
So
I
it is wise
suppose
for him and the
depends
king
on
to speak.
on the tools. The cools.
Yeah.
She speaks in a hushed tone, trying not to let the gnomes hear. That and there appears
we're on
to
the
be
ship,
a problem.
Miss Pinefall.
Yes, but she's
plainly.
still being yeah. She's a little bit reluctant. She speaks. This artificer, this gnome, he seems to have relation possibly to these divers that we have fought recently.
The goblin ilk and their
Yes.
ogre
I saw a diving suit.
bodyguards.
I saw a diving suit on his wall, possibly as a trophy or
Oh.
possibly as something related. He could have involvement. He had mentioned something of pearls and goblins working with him, so I believe he may be bad news, one could say.
That does not make me happy.
Is it not wise to fetch you first?
It would be best if him and the goblins left well enough alone. Those treasures don't belong to them.
And these treasures that these tools are do not belong to them either, I believe. Please,
Yes.
if you could come ashore and speak with everyone, that would be
If anyone
most
should
good.
have them, and the elven kind should have them, not petulant goblins.
Never against the tools.
I'll go with Vazure.
hell yeah.
Nephis is going to also. Oh, wrong map. That's the map I want to look at. So you guys take the 20-minute boat ride, but after the lagoon boat is undocked, Nephis sails the Fortune closer to the mouth. That's the mouth of the Bay of Canmore, or mouth of the entrance to the lagoon of Canmore, and he's gonna dock or put up anchor closer to where you guys are. That way he's fast. A couple minutes. And so the lagoon boat returns to Canmore, and the nice old gnome with his pointy hat lets you off on the pier. And he bids you. He tells you that he'll be here all day if you need transit anywhere in the lagoon.
Ah, thank you, my tiny friend.
You're welcome, my king.
And as the dutiful bodyguard, Vazre is going to follow by Vin's side.
So what are Carlos and Paelias doing while they're waiting? Are you guys just perusing the shop and making idle conversation?
I'm just perusing. I'm assuming he has more items of the common rarity.
Yeah, so given the nature of artificers, they not only make wondrous items that are very interesting and enchanting and unique and rare, but they also make more common things too, more common intricate things, as artificers on this island especially have a multitude of jobs. So among the magic items, there are some more mundane items that are that do have some magical properties, but it's more like utilitarian things. So there are other similar to drift globes, but they're not. They don't float or do anything else. They're just more mundane little passive, like cantrip spell objects. So you have little things that can like prestidigitate. There are a few lights, like actual lantern lights that cast things like that. And then you see a number of other things that have absolutely no magical origins or identifiable schools of magic to them, and they just happen to be intricately crafted small pieces of machinery, essentially. Some of them are unidentifiable. Some of them are obviously more advanced alternatives to mundane things. So, for example, like there's thermometers that are actual like little mercury thermometers and things like that. Yeah. Oh, very intricately crafted, however, not magically or combatively or exploratively useful. After an amount of time, this shopkeeper, he seems to be a fairly chatty fellow, and he begins telling you little small stories or talking to you about events on the island. And as Vazrai and Vinshenzo finally arrive at the artificer's shop, he's in the middle of telling you a long-winded joke. Oh, of course, Vinshenzo.
Before we go in, I'll I'll like stop short in my tracks and put a hand over Vazrai's chest and stop her in her tracks and say, "Is there could you perhaps lead with a little distraction while I take a look about his shop? Perhaps in places you and Carlos and the other one aren't allowed."
You wish me to distract?
Just have some pleasant banter with the gnome.
Gnome. Sorry.
I will try my best. I cannot promise anything, King.
Show him some of your flame trickery. It's quite intriguing.
I don't think he'd appreciate that in his shop.
Give him a little heart attack. It's not.
Yes.
Make sure the price gets doubled for everything we're trying to buy.
Yes. God damn it.
Yes.
I will try my best.
Yes. Your confidence is not exactly resounding, but it will do.
It will do. Thank you, King.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay.
I will walk into the shop behind Vazr.
Vazrai walks inside. Vin behind her.
Oh, you've returned. Oh, Your Majesty. I do feel humbled with your presence in my very small shop. It is quite an honor, says the gnome shopkeeper as soon as Vazrai and her VIP enter the store.
Yes, well, I'm merely here to oversee the transaction. It's all very customary where we're from, you see. Vazrai, go about with your questions and whatnot. And I'll lean like up against a wall in the back of the shop, and I will cast a spell.
Oh,
What spell are you casting?
I am casting Mislead.
What does mislead do?
And it only has somatic components, just FYI.
Just a little flick of the wrist.
Oh wait, let me ask a very important question. Is there like a back room to this place?
There is a wooden door in the back of the shop that leads to somewhere, but it's always stayed closed. this entire the entire visit, so none of you have had a
Okay.
chance to see what's behind it passively.
As we enter, I will leave the outside door open.
Vazray
It's a
is
beautiful
going.
day after all.
Vazray is going to come up to the counter and begin speaking. Yes, I actually do have some questions related to a different topic, if you don't mind me asking first.
Well, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, my wizard friend Paelias here was asking of being able to fly. Would that be as far as a contraption or some sort of magical component such as a ring or a wand, perhaps? How would exactly you go about this?
Well, rings and wands are less my specialty, and more the specialty of other discerning craftsmen. I delve more in, I guess, what you would say is the contraption side of artificers. I like to make mechanical wonders infused with magics. I leave the enchanting to others. However, if you're looking for something more along the shape of a ring with much more enchanted magical properties, I believe that there could be somebody else on the island who can do that.
Actually, I have something else in mind. Vin's asking a question because I'm going to continue to distract the shopkeeper.
Yeah, you're distracting. So he's sneaking outside. So you're keeping his attention, asking irrelevant questions.
Yeah, she's
Vin?
trying to do her job.
Before we jump into the whole like Vin sneaking off thing,
Yeah.
Carlos is gonna look at the double that he doesn't know is a double.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be like, "Well, you're here. Are you at least going to look at them?" And he's gonna gesture towards the tools.
How far am I out the door at this point?
Out the door.
Can I see back in and hear this, or do I not?
Yeah,
Well-
the door's open and there's like big shop front window that is entirely open, so you can hear everything still, and you can see that Carlos turned back and said something to your double.
Plus, you can see and hear things through your double.
Only if I'm occupying the double.
Oh, is that what it says? As if you were located where it is. It doesn't. Where does it say that?
Because on each of your turns as a bonus action, you can switch from using senses from use.
Last
Well, I don't know what the
sentence.
other part is. While you're using it, senses you're blind and deaf in regard to your own surroundings. There you go. So he can actively switch between the two, but he has to make that choice.
Oh,
You're close enough, Vin, right now where you don't need your double's senses to know that Carlos is talking to the double. So just in that regard, you're not out of the way yet from that. If that makes sense.
I will switch to the double and casually say out loud for, a normal speaking volume for anyone who wants to hear can hear. I'll say, I'm only here to reassure Miss Pinefall of your her confidence in your business transaction here. Nothing more, Mr. Carlos.
The gnome is looking very nervous from between everybody. He's his gaze is switching between Carlos, Vazray, Paelias, and Vinshenzo's double, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
does Carlos notice this?
Vazray's trying to distract him more.
You're talking to me in the back of the shop.
If your back is entirely turned, then no, you don't see this. If your back is not turned, you can clearly see his head. He's not being subtle about it. He's looking at anybody who speaks, and then and then he's just kind of keeping an eye on everyone else, trying to figure out what's going on in his shop.
Vazray continues to try and speak. I could even roll a deception check if you want, but she actually is going to, when talking about wings, she actually talks about wings rather instead of some sort of magical ring.
Yeah, I'll get you to roll deception.
She really likes the idea of wings like that of a dragon,
Actually, I would like
it
you to roll
deception if she's-
performance.
Performance? Oh.
Yeah, because you're not telling a lie. You're trying to distract him, and I think distracting somebody counts as sort of like a
Ooh.
performance because you're actively trying to keep his attention.
A 19 performance.
Oh wow.
Oh, he's got enough of an opportunity to sort of, as he's listening to you, he has a split second to look and see what the two others are talking about, and then he's listening to you, and then he looks quickly at Paelias, but you have all of his attention, despite his attempts to sort of like keep an idea of what's going on.
You look like quite the artificer, and I must say, instead of magical rings or wands, that's nowhere near the experience that I would like. No, I don't know how familiar you are with goblins, or kobolds rather. But there are some kobolds known as Urds that grow wings, and they happen to be very special forms of kobolds. And it is any kobold's dream to grow rings like their gods. So perhaps the closest I could get to something like this is, well, perhaps something that you can make. Making some sort of contraption like wings that may allow me to fly around, and I could only dream of what you could come up with.
Oh, yes, I could definitely do something like that, but if I must be very honest with you, my young friend, I believe that actually the person you would want to go see is the engine seer crew down at the shops. He's much more ingenuitive in those sorts of things. That is definitely with my realm and my skill set. I wouldn't know to a paying client, of course. And he smiles at you politely and a little bit nervously.
Are you sure that these engine seers, whatever they're called, are anywhere near to what you might come up with? I mean,
oh, yes, my comrades in the Steam shops are very good at what they do. They've just chosen to construct on a more of an industrial level, whereas I am more of a humble tinkerer of trinkets.
you can swap over to the other two. She's just going to keep talking about the wings
for sure.
as well as the different kind of craftsmen.
All right.
Are
Then
we
the
gonna
main
get this sale over with already?
She is heavily invested in this conversation at this point.
yes, quite heavily with that 19. You got him entirely. Like
She
the two
has
of you will
a-
talk
she
about
has a-
wings. for the
She has a
foreseeable
dream
future.
right now.
She has a dream.
This
no
when
longer-
had a dream once.
when Paelias made her fly, she pretty much had a suddenly
Da-da-da-da-da.
goal. So
It's no longer a trick. She's invested.
yes, I'm invested.
Hell yeah.
I've done my job. Go, Vinshenzo.
Out fucking standing.
I
All
will
right then.
snoop out of the door and look around for any doors or windows to the back room.
You find a large, not a large, but a gnome-sized set of double doors that lead into the back room.
Oh, are there any windows that I can look in?
There are some small windows on the street side that lead in. The interior is a little bit gloomy, but luckily you're a drow, and when you look into the windows, you can see that it's a workshop.
I live in gloom. Okay, so nothing nothing of note really.
I mean, if you're looking for some sort of like a horrible smoking gun, like 16 goblins that are all like standing on top of each other, waiting to like go out and stab each other's
Yes.
eyeballs out, no, there's none of them. It's an artificer's workshop in the back. It's
Also
where he.
looking for valuables.
Oh well, roll me perception.
Okay. Valuables, threats, and evidence is what I'm looking for. Not necessarily in that order. Evidence first. I still haven't updated this. That is a 23.
A 23. You see a number of half-finished projects. You see some stock in the back, which of course is not just a few. There are a few magic items, but as well there are a few mundane stock items as well, including in the back as well. There's like the ingredients and the components that he needs to make his items.
Okay.
With your, what did you say, 23?
23.
You also see a small safe that is built into the wall on the far side, not close to the door, but the opposite side of the door and the windows.
Time for my favorite spell. I'll go to the double doors and I'll try to quietly push them open.
Roll me sleight of hand.
Oh! If only I was Carlos.
If only. Why is the bard doing the thief's job and the thief doing the bard's job right now?
Oh,
This is
hell
kind of
yeah.
ass backwards.
27,
Well-
let's go.
God damn!
What can you say? Both of them are good at everything.
The doors silently open.
I'm more better at everything.
What have I done?
Except for surgery. I think Carlos got that one down pat.
I'm jacking off all my trades.
Alright, the doors have silently swung inwards to the shop.
Oh, yes. I creep in.
Creepily.
So the stuff I'm kind of looking for is like things that prove that he is has allegiances to the goblins, like maybe like documents with goblin script on them, or like things that besides the diving suit on the wall or whatever, things that the goblins would use.
Okay. Roll me investigation.
A goblin wife.
Oh no!
Quietly sweeping up in the back.
Investigate. Oh, I'm rolling good.
God
Let's go.
damn!
Investigation
know.
is 21.
21? Well, that's the magic number for me. If anything. Excuse me. This shop does contain a few things that definitely turn your nose up in the direction of goblin. There is a broken, what looks like to be some sort of a broken trinket that you have seen on some of the goblin divers before. It looks like a watch, except it's not a watch.
Oh, a timepiece.
It does not tell the time. It has a similar dial to the dials that you would have seen on the goblin airlocks, except it looks as though it's supposed to be strapped on the wrist. You've never seen it in use, of course, because the first thing that happens when a goblin enters the presence of the vagabonds is it promptly turns into pieces and dies involuntarily. Sometimes even just falling asleep and then never waking up again. Nephis. You also see metal stock, and the metal stock is cut similarly to the way you've seen. You're uniquely familiar with exactly how the scavengers weld and cut their metals, because you're the one who ripped apart an entire ship. So that's something you see as familiar. In terms of documents, all the documents that you find are written in either Gnomish writing or Dwarvish writing. You don't see any like smoking gun piece of evidence that says like, on this day at this time I met with this goblin boss or anything like that. There's nothing like that.
That's fine. I will snatch up. Are there any other like rooms that aren't just the main shop front?
There is another small room at the back with a closed door, and this would be so if you were to imagine the shop as being longer than it is wide.
A room
you're
in between
traveling
the shop and the room I'm in now.
behind the workshop, so at the very back of the building.
Oh, okay.
So it's the shop front, and then there's the workshop behind the shop front, and then there's a small room of some sort with a closed door behind the workshop.
I will creep in there.
Okay. The door is closed. Would you like to open it regularly, or would you like to open it silently?
Silently.
Silently. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe... Oh. That's 30.
30. Without a sound, putting even Carlos to shame, you open this door cleverly and expertly. Vinshenzo thinks he's doing it better than you are.
I guess that's fair.
In my head, I am.
Yeah.
In my head, I
I dare say you are sleuthier and silenter than even the greatest. And in this small room,
I quietly marvel at my dexterity and cunning.
this room appears to be some sort of tool storage.
Can I investigate this for goblin stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. First bad roll. Oh! 21.
Jesus.
Anyone? No goblin stuff in here.
Okay, I will creep back out.
Sorry, wait, hang on.
Ooh.
I'm looking at my notes. On the wall, it's one of them like it's not a pegboard thing where you hang off your tools off of, except it is kind of like the D&D fantasy equivalent of whatever the fuck that might be. There's like pegs sticking to the wall with a number of tools. The way you would organize your own workshop, and some of the tools, some of the larger hammers, do not look like they were made by a gnome. They look a lot cruder. They look as though they've been altered and finished differently than you would expect. Like the actual hammering surfaces are nicely polished, but the rest of it is fairly roughly cast.
Hell yeah. I will creep back out, snatching the diver's watch on my way out.
Awesome.
And I'll go back outside.
Okay. Meanwhile, in the shop front, Vazarai and the shop owner, who I even forgot his name at this point in time, they're both in an in-depth discussion about how one would go about designing kobold wings.
Oh.
Yeah, she is very invested in this conversation at this point. So she feel like she even got herself pretty well with this distraction.
Hell yeah. I'll go back to my decoy and assume the same pose and then dispel the spell.
All right. You have Carlos. What have you been doing in the couple of minutes that this has taken?
Well, not much, since fucking Vazra is talking this guy's ear off.
I'm sorry. Suddenly, I had this interest in talking.
Hell yeah. So Vin, you get back in position. Carlos looks very bored. Paelias is gone. And Vazrai and the shopkeeper are still having a chat.
Hell yeah. I'll clear my throat to make way for my words.
The gnome who happened to be the one speaking stops mid-sentence.
Vazra stops talking and looks to Vin.
Yeah.
Yes. Another order of business, my little friend.
Certainly, great king.
I was wondering if you knew how to repair this trinket. And I tossed the diver's watch onto the counter.
Oh, well, certain. This is a depth reader. I wouldn't say I'm adept, but I've become familiar with repairing these things.
Quite familiar.
Familiar enough, yes. The goblins who come and trade with the Atoll bring in their tools from time to time for repair. They're not quite gentle with them, he says with a little bit of a frustration edging into his voice. I wish they had a little bit more professional responsibility.
Yes.
Vazray remains quiet.
Tell me, you come from Migran land?
No, they don't.
Well, let me tell you where these goblins bring you their trinkets from. It's an old ruin of a place I used to find quite fondly. And
Every time you go there, it makes me feel sad.
yes, when I went this time, it made me sad.
He told me how he felt.
They're stealing trinkets and knowledge that doesn't belong to them. And you do business with these barbarous little creatures?
Oh, I had no idea they were looting a city that was close to you. I don't really ask them where they get their things, and they don't ever go into any great detail. They're more interested in trading whatever they bring ashore for our coin and pearls.
Yes. Well, you will not trade with them anymore.
Vazray looks to Carlos for a moment and then looks back to Vin.
I'll allow you to choose between persuasion and intimidation for convincing this man he should not be trading with goblins.
I will choose intimidation, even though it's not my better one.
Oh.
Yeah. My first bad roll in before. Oh, 17. Or sorry, 18.
The robust, rotund gnome brings back and he says, "But my great king, the goblins and their crews are the only ones that trade with our atoll. They're the only ones that bring metal, which is necessary to our way of life. If I was to stop trading with them, I'd must surely run out of business. Please, my king, good king."
You will have a supply of metal from Sanctuary Isle.
Oh, if that's the case, I have no choice but to comply with your request.
I can assure you that the quality of metal that we provide is far superior to what you could possibly get from goblins.
Perhaps I can suggest something.
Yes. What is it, Miss Pinefall?
It would almost seem that this place, this atoll, might have the potential to be a sort of trade hub between Sanctuary and the new place we're planning to go to, New Ravnica. Perhaps we can inform New Ravnica of this place. They might be able to be willing to do trade.
That is a
Hey,
splendid
New
idea.
Ravnica. The gnome sort of like pipes up. New Ravnica. Yes, we've had visitors from New Ravnica before. They know where we are. They are quite the sociable folk, I must say. Their ways are strange to us, much like your ways are strange to us, though. But I'm sure they would be happy to trade with anybody.
Yes. We wish to open diplomatic channels of commerce with them. You will act as a springboard to them. Our ships will pass by carrying metal by the cargo hold.
Oh, good king, this is quite the honor, but I'm just a simple artificer. Are you not sure you would like to have this kind of a conversation with somebody who's a little bit more esteemed in our society?
I do. Forgive me. Your people, including yourself, weren't exactly upfront with the details.
Wait, what sort of details were they not upfront about? I would be surprised if our great overseer was anything less than accommodating, especially to outsiders whose trade is our lifeblood here.
I think it would be rather the oneness of the trader of goblins to speak up about it, rather than me having to ask if your people deal with scoundrels.
It might have been glossed, but just as a meta point, it was publicly noted and mentioned. Like this is not something that they tried to keep a secret. The community on Steamgate, they have mentioned.
Maybe I was.
They had mentioned. Yeah, you might have been gone, but it's also something that like.
I think that
they don't walk around saying like, oh yes, we trade with goblins like every. It's not something that is widely talked about in the sense that it's a fairly mundane affair, but it was something that I had brought up earlier, that they do deal with the scavengers and New Ravnica.
Yes. Well, that will soon come to an end. And I will fulfill the Sanctuary Isle will fulfill the gap in what you need.
That is a very generous and uplifting thing to say, great king, and I look forward to being part of the great connection that will be made between our two nations and islands.
Yes. As for now, I think it would be best if we retained these tools in regards to what, in lieu of what company you keep.
Vazray seems to let out a sigh of relief.
Oh, great king! This is your property, and I have no wish to disagree with you on how you should act with your belongings. If you find my shop to be inadequate due to my past clientele, I do highly recommend, especially for such a wondrous item, that perhaps you would go see some of our other skilled artificers and engineers, that they might better impress you with their professionalism and serviceship. They could certainly do with creating new sets of tools for you, and of course for our great island. We'd be willing to pay the price for such masterworks.
And tell me again, what exactly would you value these at? And as he says that, Carlos is going to use his medallion of thoughts to scan his surface thoughts. It's here if you want to read it.
Yeah, I'll refresh myself super quick. Medallion of thoughts. What is on its most on its mind at the moment? So he is trying to work you. He's like sitting there trying to gauge his sort of like haggle range, and it seems as though his limit for haggling is 800. As you scan his surface thoughts, and he says, "Well, with the gravity of the situation and the prestige of the company in the shop, I suppose I could increase my asking offer to 600 gold pieces plus whatever I had offered before, the coins of delving, and of course I could add on. Let's say I add in 2 pearls. I was going to keep them for my goblin traders, that is their preferred medium of exchange, but if I'm not going to be doing business with them anymore, of course I see no reason to keep a hold on them. I'd be willing to part with, as I said, 600 gold pieces, 2 pearls, and 5 coins of delving.
And you believe this is a proper value for tools of this craftsmanship? One of a kind?
Of course
I would be doing a disservice to my profession and my shop if I offered anything else.
Do his surface thoughts betray what are you saying at all?
He's... Yeah, I mean, he
Insight.
was... No, he has this medallion of thoughts.
Oh, right. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
so he Carlos can read the surface thoughts of the gnome, and the gnome was...
I remember
like,
now.
He's willing... He essentially doesn't want to pay 800 gold, but that's kind of like... He won't let you leave the store with those tools before he offers 800 gold kind of thing. So he's still playing. He's still playing the game a little bit. He's still trying to work around the corners as any salesman would.
And Vinshenzo did say that he wanted to hold on to the tools, right? Because of the business that the gnome was keeping.
Yes.
Right? Is that what Vinshenzo said? I'm trying
I
to...
mean, that's what
I don't remember the
Vinshenzo
exact
said,
words,
but
yeah.
that's not necessarily the reasoning.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I'd remembered hearing that correctly.
That's what Vinshenzo said, yes.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's a moot point, since our king feels that they're better left in our hands. But I do appreciate your honest appraisal. And he's going to phrase honest in such a way that implies that perhaps the gnome isn't being as honest as he'd like people to think. But not too outwardly, like, not phrasing it too much so that it would be like an insult.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, indeed.
And Carlos would once again move to pack up the tools.
Swashbuckler used to stand nearby.
He lets you pack up the tools, and he says, please, good sir, it's a very fair offer. It's a competitive offer. I don't think you would find anybody willing to pay more on the island here. I do believe, and he's like watching you pack it up, and you finish packing up the case, and he says, oh, okay, it's unreasonable, but I'll pay 800 gold pieces on top of everything else I've offered. I pay you 800 gold pieces for the tools. With a promise that we will ensure that copies of these proper copies, certified and everything, you can inspect them yourselves when you come to visit next, but we will also ensure that you get other tools of the same quality based on this set.
Carlos would pause, and he would turn to look at Vinshenzo, and he'd make it clear that the decision lies with him to the gnome. And he'd be like, well, what do you think of this final offer, my king?
We will retain such things until the fair shopkeeper has redeemed himself. And he will redeem himself.
The gnome looks utterly crestfallen.
Don't feel too bad. The possibility isn't... it isn't out of the realm of possibility that these could end up in your hands one day. So long as you keep your nose clean, and
Yes.
Carlos would like kind of brush the tip of his snout with a finger.
I will endeavor to keep my nose clean of any more goblin business should they return to the island. I promise you that. I've learned my lesson. I truly did not know that they were ravagers and pillagers of ancient civilizations. That it was never my intention to do business with criminals. I suppose I was just happy receiving the business. But you have shown me the error of my ways, and I will endeavor to earn your patronage once again.
Speak not another word, Mr. Gnome. We will you will see the sun shine again and it will come from Sanctuary Isle.
Oh, he obediently does not utter another word.
So as much as it pains Carlos to walk away from such a deal, he does so.
Oh, I could have been. That wasn't just 800 gold. That was 800 gold, 2 pearls, and some coins of delving.
Yep.
Believe me, I wanted
Carlos.
those coins of delving.
Poor Carlos.
I love
And
those.
it's for something that objectively Carlos can't use too. So it's even like
How much
Like, he's-
do you fucking hate Vazrai right now for going and getting the boss? I just really think we need a supervisor right now. You fucking asshole. I think I'm gonna go check and see with my supervisor. I don't think this is proper.
This workplace is not safe. I'm making an anonymous tip right now.
Azrai just went over the manager's head to talk to the CEO.
Yes.
Fucking Christ.
Anyway.
Dude, that's,
So,
that's what human resources does.
So Carlos should, pack everything up and regroup with the others that were, I think, were more towards the door.
Hopefully
Sounds
we'll
like
see each
it.
other again and discuss more about these wings.
And he would give Vazrai a sidelong glance and utter in Draconic, well, I hope you're satisfied, Vazrai. It seems in this instance you got your way.
Vazray speaks back in Draconic. I am happy.
Mr. Carlos,
Much
Suppose that's
happy.
all that matters, isn't it?
Mr. Carlos, Miss Pinefall, quit your squabbling. I have duties for you.
Vazray quickly walks over to Vin and is ready to listen.
Inform the other artisans and shopkeepers and barterers on this godforsaken atoll that what I had just told the good shopkeeper in there. I will go speak to the overseer at once.
Very well. It will be done.
Well,
Do you wish me to speak to the other shopkeepers about the goblins?
yes, that they may no longer do business with the goblins.
Do try to have some enthusiasm. You speak on behalf of the king, after all.
And I will
Make sure they know that.
And we
I
will
will
do trade.
give Carlos and Vazray bardic inspiration.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh wait.
And I can tell them that Sanctuary Island is willing to trade with them, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Whatever they need.
Then it seems that we have made potential business partners this day.
Not potential.
Future.
It is
Vazray
guaranteed.
nods. Guaranteed aggressive business ship.
So once Carlos and Vazrai go outside, Carlos would take a look around and kind of appraise where all the shops were kind of located, and he'd try to divide them evenly between him and Vazrai. Okay, you take these ones over here, and I'll start working my way this way. And once we're done, we'll meet back. We'll meet back here, okay?
Consider it done.
I will go
Hell
to
yeah.
the overseer.
Hell yeah,
Vazray is
times
going
two.
to begin telling the shopkeepers to end their business with the goblins if they had been doing business with them, and that Sanctuary Island will instead be doing business
All right.
with this island.
I'm gonna get Carlos and Vazrai to for their task. You may choose to roll either persuasion or intimidation, depending on the tone of the message you wish to convey
Oh,
from your
yes.
king. recognizing the potential benefits or drawbacks of both. Vinshenzo is going to go visit the Overseer. Paelias, I just want to jump to you really quickly because you're walking into the future to visit the Apothecary, and you get back to Great Point an hour after you left. And
I just want to buy some medicinal shrooms and some fat because now I have access to saffron. So I can make the fucking component for true seeing, finally.
The medicinal mushrooms you're able to get, the Apothecary actually grows a selection, not just medicinal, but he gives you a nod and a wink, and he says he's got a few recreational ones as well, and he's offering a bag of mushrooms. I don't know what fucking measurement a mushroom is in D&D, but he's offering you each bag of mushrooms, we'll say, comes with I don't know, it's like a pound of mushrooms for 2 silver pieces each bag of mushrooms.
Hold on, I can help you.
Okay. I don't have mushrooms in the grain to gold charts, I don't think.
Look, all I need is enough to make into mushroom powder, and then I need fat, and then I will use my spice pouch to pull out some saffron, because I can do that.
Mutton, mushroom, nutmeg.
And then I can make eye ointment that costs 25 gold.
That
From
is the
those
highest
3
roll.
things.
That's the highest roll I've ever gotten.
What the fuck?
I had 19 for my roll, 14 for my persuasion skill, and then 7 from the bardic inspiration.
Hell yeah,
40.
dude.
We had really good...
You just convinced God to buy your shit.
All right.
to die for.
So you said you wanted mushrooms. I said 2 silver pieces for a bag of mushrooms.
It is guaranteed.
Fat you can get. I mean, shit. How much fat you want, so I can just tell you how much it's going to cost you for the amount of fat that you want.
Look,
you're in Great Point. They have pig farms. They have lard. They have fat. They have tallow.
Look,
they churn butter.
I don't know what the actual how much each component has to cost, but
I know that. But if you're interested in purchasing a certain amount, even if you don't know, I can just tell you that X amount is worth this much.
I'd probably just buy a pound of mushrooms and I don't know, a small, medium-sized jar of animal fat.
Yeah, that's fair. You are going to be paying a grand total of how much did I say it was for the mushrooms? 5? 5 silver?
I genuinely do not recall, so let's just go with that.
I thought it was
5
like
silver
silver
pieces
for a bag.
2 silver pieces, and it's going to cost you 4 copper pieces for a pound of fat.
I don't know. That might break your bank, dude.
Hell yeah.
Oh no, I'll just pay I'll pay a gold.
You take 100 pieces. Could you break down 100?
Yeah, see, I'm a little too. I only have gold. Gold is the smallest denomination I have.
That's fucking hilarious. That's fine. He gives you.
I'll just pay it a gold and not care about the change.
You're gonna just tip him the rest of the change.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have made the happiest gnome. This guy's just your average side of the road apothecary, and you just like made his week.
You
Probably
paid
made
him
his
like
entire
twice what he
fucking
asked.
year.
No,
You
I paid him
off-
like 4 or 5 times what he
You
asked.
just paid his entire year of taxes in one purchase, and probably bumped him up a bracket.
Gold
Hell
piece, keep the
yeah.
change. Oh, thank
That's
you, Lord.
epic.
Thank you.
Very, very happy. And he gives you, in fact, he's so happy, he gives you a bag of recreational mushrooms.
Whoa.
This is the good stuff.
Compliments. And it's even got a little, nice little ribbon cinching the bag closed.
Neat.
And he wishes you a blessed day. Is there anywhere else you would like to visit, or is that sort of the culmination? of your
No.
visit?
I after that I would make my way back to the ship to start making the eye ointment.
Okay, you go
With
to the
my
docks at
herbal
Great Point.
again,
The
so-
Great Point Lagoon boat is willing to take you back all the way around the island to go visit HMS Fortune, and he will do that. So, Vazarai with 17 persuasion, and Carlos, who does a much better job at persuading. You two visit the workshops and artisan shops throughout Canmore. Now, Canmore is split into essentially 3 districts when it comes to the workshops and the workshops and the traders. So you have your artisans, who are your tool makers, your more the stuff that you guys usually trade in. Those are your artisans. And then the industrial worksheds and workshops are farther away from the main avenue, but a little bit closer to the docks, so that they can get all of their stuff in and out without taking up too much of the thoroughfare. The artisans, I will say, are a little bit more reprehensive when Vazarai comes calling, telling, if not demanding, that they cease trade. However, upon hearing the promise of an entirely new avenue of trade being promised to them, they reluctantly accept without any other bond from you except for your word. When you visit, however, the industrial workshops, you get clamorings from the overseer, you get clamorings from the engine seer. They're very unhappy about this turn of events. And a number of the workers begin grumbling too about how it's going to set back production quotas and it's going to be delays, especially when it comes to what looks like a foundry that deals with very complicated machinery that you've never really seen before in your life. And they are particularly peeved. However, upon your gentle persuasions, they finally relent and they go grumbling back to their work. They don't seem overly thrilled having to, because the industrial guys are not the ones that are selling to the goblins. These are the guys that are buying from the goblins. And one very particularly angry gnome tells you in very acute detail as to how ridiculous it is that they are not going to be able to produce anything, because the only source of metal in any quantity that they can recycle comes from the scavengers, and now they're going to have to start recycling their own things to be able to meet the Republic's quota of whippets. And this gnome is not pleased. For Carlos,
I want to do some whippets.
You want to do some whippets? Whip it real good. Carlos, you have more measured success. I'm not sure what your strategy is, but your strategy, your approach.
Pretty much my approach is like, I'm going to talk about how great Sanctuary Island is and how abundant the resources are and how much better deals you're going to get by working with us instead of some goblins that probably upsell you like a ton because they think they can get away with it. They probably look down on you, you know. We'll respect you a lot more. That kind of thing.
And Carlos also probably has like a little bit more of the businessman's lingo about him.
Oh, yeah.
because he is also
Fair enough.
himself a businessman, whereas Vazrai,
I am
Much-
not a businessman.
you are not business kobold, you are fighter kobold, and your arguments are reasonable and they are logical. It's just that you're
I am
going
not
up
good at
against
this.
you're going up against businessmen, company men, and factory workers. And Carlos is just able to speak the union lingo a little bit better than you do.
Oh,
And
he lives
meets
the
with-
life, whereas Vazray doesn't. So
Carlos
Yeah.
is talking about KPIs.
Hell
production incentives, tariff relaxing, all this good stuff, worker bonuses, all that good shit. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's the best.
Exclusive contracts. They are the shop owners and the foremen that deal with Carlos are eager, whereas the shop owners and the foremen that deal with Vazray are accepting, if that makes sense.
Do I need to go over there and help out?
No. She gets her job done. She
Okay.
succeeds at her task. There's no
Good job.
stone left unturned between the two of you, and there are no artisans or industry experts that have refused your request. It's one of those, I'm asking, but I'm not asking. And they said, okay. Some a little bit more enthusiastically than others. Which finally brings us around to Mr. the King Vinshenzo Cairona.
I will
I'm
speak
aware
with
of the time, by the way.
Overseer.
Okay. We'll get through the Overseer and then we'll call it, just because I know we started a little bit later tonight.
We can do it tomorrow or next week. Sorry.
It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm good to go for
I'm
a
fine with
one
either.
conversation more. What are you guys feeling?
I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I'm fine with either. If you already have what you think, if you already know what you say, and you don't want to forget.
I know
I
what
don't
I'm
care.
going to say.
Let's do it.
I will go in
Okay. You are
authoritatively.
the two guards at the front, whomst you recognize as the ones that escorted you through the building. They snap up smartly to attention. Do not get in your way whatsoever, and they trail you. They trail you through the council chambers out of duty, but they respect your personal space and don't try and intervene at all with what you're doing.
Hell yeah. I go seek the Overseer. Excuse me.
The Overseer is in the midst of having a conversation with a rather grubby-looking gnome who's wearing engineer's coveralls.
Oh.
And the gnome, as you're approaching the door, you can hear leveled shouting. And as you, I assume you just let yourself in.
Yes.
Because you're Vinshenzo, and that's kind of something he does. As you let yourself in, and the shouting abruptly stops, the angry gnome whips around, looks at you, immediately averts his eyes, and begs his leave from the Overseer before leaving out of a side door. The Overseer sort of like straightens his petticoat. Great King Cairona, I am pleased to see you
Hello.
back again.
Dear Overseer, I hate to barge in
No.
and waste your important time, but a grave matter has come to my attention. It is...
Yes, I've heard. You don't like the goblins doing business on my island.
Oh, good. So you've already heard.
That was the loud noise that you had just walked in on. That was one of my chief engine seers telling me exactly how unimpressed he was with the demands you were making of the populace.
Yes, well, the rabble of the common folk is nothing more than that.
Unlike you, I'm not sure exactly which holy divinity granted you your power, but I am pleased to lead the people at the pleasure of the people. So the common rabble, unfortunately, are the ones who are the base of my power here.
Is it not worth to wait a scant few months to better serve your common people? Or to merely keep things as they are, dealing with scoundrels and whatnot?
The
Thieves.
overseer stands from his desk, which really does absolutely nothing to improve upon his insignificant height. And he walks over to a window that overlooks the bay side and the hillside of Canmore inclusively. And he points out the window sort of with a sweeping gaze to capture all of the town, and he says, "Good King Cairona, we are limited on the number of visitors we get from the outside world, and unfortunately the only regular customers and clientele that we get coming here are the goblins, and if I was to stop trading with them, I would run out of metal, and metal is one of the few things that we need to continue maintaining the machinery and the economy with which we base our livelihoods around. I'm sure, great king, that you could understand such a necessity, and it would be risky to just cease all of that production altogether. What happens if one of my steam retorts breaks and my populace is without fresh drinking water? Simply because of an economically favorable trade deal that is heavily swayed in your favor, not mine. What leader of the people would I be if I was to let them potentially suffer through months of waiting with no guarantees aside from your word, a word of a stranger? Would you, great king, accept that sort of a deal on behalf of your people?
It is not in favor of me, it is in favor of the memories and the legacy of the people of Morrowind.
I can appreciate that, and
You will be made right, Overseer. You will have metal by the shipful. The realm of the Cairona spans far and is ever growing. We have the metal.
Roll persuasion.
Technology.
I will roll persuasion. Ugh. Oh, hell, dude, I'm popping off today.
We've been
Popping off today.
That would...
We've been rolling good tonight.
Oh, wait, persuasion. Hold on. Plus... Okay. That would be 25.
Plus 10, yeah.
25. I can hear by the tone in your voice that you're quite serious, great king. And at the very minimum, I value the safety of my people, and very maximum, I do believe your word that it will bring us more economic prosperity than if we were to just deal with mere scavengers. I can appreciate that, but I must ask, what if they turn their ire on us when they realize that they can no longer receive trade in return for their ill-begotten gains, as I've discovered since your arrival here? We only have a small contingent of soldiers, and I am embarrassed to admit that they might not be up to the task of dealing with the monstrosities and the machinations of these scavenging thieves, or however you wish to note them. What sort of security can be brought? You mentioned an alliance when you first came and visited here. What would it look like for the good people of Steamgate? I must keep my gnomes safe.
The pestilent goblin pest will be dealt with, and you will then have nothing to worry about.
Roll me one more persuasion. For the guaranteeing of security.
Oh, I'm popping off.
25. Oh, he's popping off.
God damn.
Yes, okay. I will take your word, and I will trust in the great Cairona house and your your mighty nation in keeping us safe, as well as giving us good trade. Very well.
Hell yeah.
We will honor this agreement, but I do sincerely hope that you will honor yours as well.
If you wish, we could perhaps bring back some trinkets from New Ravnica for you on our voyage back to Sanctuary Isle.
His eyes light up. Oh, you intend to visit New Ravnica? Well,
Yes.
any trade goods you could bring back to us, especially when it comes to raw ores, metals. I'm sure my smiths and artisans could deconstruct and repurpose anything you bring to us, but yes, we would be very happy in receiving trade.
Your allegiance will be rewarded. And I'll turn and leave.
Hell yeah. He begins to say something and then thinks better of it as you whisk your way through the door and chooses instead to return to his work.
I end my turn.
Okay. Does anybody have any other business they would like to conduct in the Atoll of Steamgate?
Only
I
one more
don't-
prayer at the site where the dragon was, and then I'd probably go back to the ship unless I'm asked of something else.
Vazrai wouldn't want to speak with the engine seers about wings.
Oh.
I mean,
Oh.
I could be asked.
We can do that in IC.
Yeah, that would be
Well, I don't mind
Yes.
opening up IC for that.
I see, let's go, finally.
Finally. Yeah, I might actually have time to do IC. Okay, so
Oh no, we've just been in combat like every other session.
Every time.
pretty much. Okay, so I see. I'm gonna write a note here. I see Vaz. I will talk to. His name is Brew. Brew the Engine Seers, the one that was mentioned to you. So Vazrai will talk to Crew.
What a
Okay,
fitting
does
name.
anybody else? Kroo, Crew. I know, it's fun. Anybody else? I just would like to generally know if you want to go back to the ship, that's totally cool. I just need to know that so that if I have something that we want to do in IC, we can do that. But my intention is that the start of next session, we just go straight to sailing off into the horizon, and that way we can journey forward. Paelias, what are you up to, or what would you like to do? You said you wanted to go back to the ship, eh?
Yeah, I'm basically ready to move on. I'm just going to use downtime when we're sailing to make that eye ointment for the as a spell component. Now that I have material.
Eye ointment. Okay. Carlos.
Carlos would tag along with Vazrai in case she needs any help with persuasion.
Well, you're another kobold, or at least, I mean, you're not a pure blood, but you're still a kobold. Maybe you can talk about wings too.
I see. Hooray. And last but certainly not least, Vinshenzo.
I'll go back, or I'll return to the party.
Return to Vazrai and Carlos?
Yeah. So I can
Okay. Hell yeah.
That was
Okay.
good.
I'm
Well,
metagaming
also
so
just-
I can IC.
Just so you're aware, after next session, I'll be unavailable for the next 2 sessions because I'll be visiting my parents.
I will not be available for the 21st, and
Oh!
I may. Yeah, I won't be available for the 21st.
Okay, so the
may then have a-
14th,
That's okay.
the 14th is okay for everybody, which is the next session next week.
Yes.
Yes.
Then the 21st and the 28th are the ones that we have absences.
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Chill and Seeker for the 21st and the 28th. You guys, I assume, are not having issues, but are you two okay? We'll take those 2 sessions as a pause.
I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
that's I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Missing out on
Okay.
D&D sucks a little, but you know.
It sucks a little,
I
but
would
here's
rather
my
have
thought,
the whole
because this
party.
Yeah,
this
that.
gives me an opportunity to just we'll spend next session fucking sailing to New Ravnica, and then I get 2 whole weeks to procrastinate my way through setting up New Ravnica.
That's awesome.
That's a great
That's
idea.
that's how that works. And then when we start back up in November, it'll be actually at the fucking place that we've busted our asses so hard collectively to get to.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! So that'll be the direction that I push towards, and I'll work my way to trying to get that done. I've been trying to figure out a way to streamline the travel a little bit more, because this doesn't need to be a fucking anime episode where every single time you open your eyeballs there's some crazy monstrosity. I've been trying to make the journey seem like it's arduous, stressful, and generally like an unpleasant affair, and it's not just a sail on the sea like it's the English Channel and you're totally okay. But at the same time, I kind of want to get going places, and I think that's how everybody's going to start feeling as soon if I dilly-dally too long. So that'll be the direction in which we forge ahead, so that we can kick ass in New Ravnica.
Cast and take New Ravnica.
Kick names and take ass. So
Well,
I'll save.
That's from
Yeah.
Avengers.
Out of character, just thought I had. Since Vinshenzo can cast sending, he could basically tell them to send a shipment from.
I could.
Very good point.
You could.
And that would. I mean, realistically, that's probably a really smart idea to do, but I'm not
Maybe I'll
going
do
to
that in
influence
IC.
decisions one way or another.
Maybe you'll do that in IC. I'm just pointing it out. If your character wouldn't do it, don't do it. It's just.
I appreciate
The option exists.
the option. I was thinking that.
Hell yeah. Okay, the room is saved. I'm gonna close
This is
the
a fantastic
session.
session.
Also, when you have time, can you send me like a copy of like